G'day guys, Rukshan here. Thanks for joining me for the news vlog. Bit of a quick show today. It's just a couple of topics because I have to pack and get ready for a flight early tomorrow morning to head to Canberra to cover the farmers rally that's happening. So apparently there's farmers flying in from all around the country to discuss their problems and issues in Canberra. So it's a bit of a rally slash protest. There's also a counter protest that's planned by a group called Get Up Australia. So whatever's happening, I'll be covering that tomorrow and bringing you my news vlog show, most likely from Canberra, and sharing with you guys what happens at the rally. Tune in for that. Now, yesterday I discussed with you this tragic story of that senseless killing of that grandmother, the 70-year-old lady, in front of her granddaughter, 6-year-old granddaughter, at a shopping centre in Ipswich, Queensland. Now, the nation has been discussing this story and everyone is mourning and lamenting the loss of this life and just the senseless murders that we're seeing in our country. In some good news, the police have made some progress and apprehended at least 5 individuals at the moment in relation to this incident. 4 of them so far are participating with police in their investigation and helping them with their investigation, whatever that means. And 1 of them has been charged with a motor vehicle offence related to something to do with the incident. Now, a lot of it's unclear at the moment. The family of the lady has said that she apparently handed over her keys to her attacker, the person that stabbed her, before she was stabbed. The police are saying the motivation for the killing, the motive, was to steal her car, to carjack that Hyundai Getz, that the getaway car that they used, and that was a part of the CCTV footage. So this lady handed over her keys, probably in fear, right? This frail old lady, according to her family, handed over the keys to the carjackers or carjacker, whatever, and that yet she was still stabbed to death following that. Tragic stuff. I'm just going to read this quick story for you. The family of a great-grandmother who was fatally stabbed during a carjacking are struggling to understand why she was attacked because she handed the alleged knifeman her keys. Wileen White, 70, was allegedly killed in front of her 6-year-old granddaughter in a car park at Redneck Plains Town Square in southwest Brisbane at 6:10 p.m. on Saturday. She was buying snacks for Bible study session later that evening. Police released CCTV footage of 4 teenagers dumping Miss White's blue Hyundai Getz on a street in nearby Springfield Lakes about 20 minutes after the alleged stabbing. 5 teenage boys have been arrested so far. There's 3 16-year-olds and 2 15-year-olds. 1 has been charged with 1 count of unlawful use of a motor vehicle, and 1 was refused bail on Monday. The other 4 are assisting police with inquiries. Miss White's husband, Victor, who is blind and relied heavily on her for support, broke his silence to the Daily Mail Australia on Monday afternoon. He revealed his wife was used to jokingly say, "If I go, no one is going to miss me." And that's Miss White there celebrating her 70th birthday before her life has been tragically snatched away by this just horrific, senseless murder. If only she knew what was going on now, he said, referencing the deluge of love and support his family has received in the wake of his wife's tragic death. One of their 3 daughters, Julie Ryan, struggled to understand how anyone could hurt her mother, particularly because she cooperated when confronted by the alleged attacker. She was a small, frail woman. She handed over the keys. They didn't take her bag, wallet, nothing. So why did they need to allegedly kill her? Just a horrific story, and I've gone over this yesterday. A lot of commentary today. A lot of people actually responded to my video privately and in public, calling me a racist for actually bringing up the race of these individuals, these African youths that were involved in this. We know that these teenagers, at least, there's some relation to the incident with this, or they're helping with the investigations. But the alleged attacker itself, as well, I said yesterday, was of a African appearance, and many people have taken offense to this. One of the most interesting comments I received on this was from a person saying that you, as a person of color, Rukshan, should show more sensitivities to when people of color are involved in these type of incidents. And I call complete BS on this whole notion that people of color or minorities, was the phrase that they used actually, as a minority, you should be more sensitive to these issues when minorities are being viewed in this light in the media. That's complete nonsense. There is no expectations within minority communities that we would accept these type of crimes to be a normalized part of society. Even minorities in this country who are a part of the hardworking fabric of this nation do not want this type of crime in Australia. They do not condone this type of activity in any way. They don't even understand this type of activity. We don't want to make excuses for this type of activity, right? I condemn this type of activity, and regardless of where they're from, Africa, India, Sri Lanka, right, China, who cares? Doesn't matter. We do not want this in our country. And if it takes stricter punishment for these teens, if it takes Some people have said, certain individuals being deported. Well, if they're on here on some type of temporary visa, or if they're a part of some asylum program, whatever it is, then yes, maybe some stricter punishments around deportation might be warranted for people that are just involved in these senseless killings and murders of individuals, right? Right now, what happens in our system is a slap on the wrist, right? It's an insult to the people whose lives have been lost. It's an insult to the rest of the communities. And quite frankly, I don't for a moment believe that the hardworking, good people within the African communities in our country would be, okay with what is happening with these individuals, especially with these kids who are committing these type of crimes. And yes, again, it's confronting to discuss race and talk about race and talk about solutions to this problem. But it's crazy this talk that we're getting, particularly from progressives and the far left, that somehow you can't talk about these things, that somehow minorities, need to be put in this special case of people who can commit crime and get away with it, or there's some underlying reason to the reason that they're, murdering people. So somehow you can't, talk about it in a specific way when it comes to them. Complete BS. Complete BS. Whoever these alleged killers are, the book should be thrown at them. There should be no sympathy for people that do this type of crime. There should be no, lessening of sentences and all this kind of stuff because of history or some crap like this. Because these people sometimes end up being repeat offenders. And if you don't set the standards for society, that we want to live with in terms of how we treat criminals that commit this type of crime, then we're just going to see more and more of this. And we're seeing that in America, we're seeing that in Europe, and I quite frankly, as a minority, as I've been targeted now because of my views, as a minority, I don't want people killing people in Australia when they go to the shopping centre. F that. No one wants that, right? We don't want that. So get lost. Like, we don't want that crap in this country. So that's the update on this. I'll update more if there's any further instances from the police about the investigation. The next story I have is around Tucker Carlson. That's right, Tucker Carlson has been spotted in Russia, and there is a movement to get him investigated by the FBI. So there's a call from certain individuals especially online, that Tucker Carlson needs to be investigated by the FBI for going to Russia. Apparently he's there according to Tucker himself, to sightsee and talk to individuals and, for his research purposes. Some people say that he's there to interview Vladimir Putin. Now, that hasn't been specifically confirmed by Tucker. He did appear on a video just recently where someone asked him this question, and he said, he would be interested in, he said, but that's not specifically why he's there. At the moment, he's not letting the cat out of the bag, even if that's the case. But yeah, there's a movement now to have Tucker Carlson arrested or investigated by the FBI, and there's a whole heap of people calling him a traitor for the act of journalism, for the very fact that he is in Russia, potentially to interview Vladimir Putin, right? And I've seen other journalists and other news stations at international conferences and so on interview Vladimir Putin. I don't necessarily think if you're a journalist and you go to Russia to interview Vladimir Putin or any other dictator or any other individual, that you're a traitor to the country. I think you're just doing your job. And Tucker Carlson, he's been willing to talk to a lot of these type of individuals and put questions to them that don't normally get put to them in the mainstream media. And a lot of the times these people have opened up and given answers that you wouldn't normally hear in the mainstream media. So if Tucker does interview Vladimir Putin, I'm sure it would be one of the most interesting interviews we would see of Vladimir Putin in a long time, if ever. Maybe something close to the interviews that you would see of him in Russia when he speaks about issues in a different manner. We might not get that normally with a mainstream reporter, for instance, and their cagey questions that they might ask. He might have an open discussion with Tucker Carlson on some of the matters, particularly pertaining to the war in Ukraine and other related matters, the relationship with the US. There might be a frank answering of questions. Now, of course, Putin himself has a questionable history, questionable past, and a lot of people have grievances against him, and it's quite warranted. So he might give a dodgy interview. That's possible as well. But Tucker Carlson is merely just doing what journalists do, which is to go out there, interview people in tough circumstances, and put questions to them. So no, I don't believe Tucker Carlson, even if he interviews Vladimir Putin, he's a traitor. He's just being a journalist, and that's what journalists should be doing. Now, this story is one that sort of pissed off a few people. We remember when the Captain Cook statue was cut off at the feet in St Kilda. Well, now, right, even after that, the councillors and stuff said, "No, we're going to fix this up and put it straight back up." Well, now it turns out they're debating over whether we should put it up or not. So they've put a motion in to say that there should be a debate over whether we put the Captain Cook statue back. A statue of Captain Cook that was sawn off in St Kilda may not be rebuilt, with a local Labour-aligned councillor calling for the community to be consulted on whether they want the monument reinstated. Vandals used an angle grinder to cut the metal sculpture located on Jacker Boulevard at Catani Gardens from its stone base on the eve of Australia Day this year. Its plinth was spray painted with the words, "The colony will fall." Shortly after, Premier Jacinta Allen vowed to work with the city of Port Phillip to reinstate the statue, which is more than 115 years old. Well, their promises from these politicians like Jacinta Allen and so on don't mean much, do they? Now you have the councillors working actively within the city of Port Phillip to have a debate on whether it should be put up at all. And most likely these individuals with the type of people that are working there usually get their way. Let's see what happens there. And the last story that I have is, guys, for those of you in Victoria, I don't know if you remember Docklands precinct. There was a time in 2019, I believe, it was going under, apparently sinking. This is the pier in question here. Now, I used to work there a lot because obviously I'm a wedding photographer as well, and there's lots of events here. Well, there has been a settlement between the Development Victoria and the proprietors of that area. Well, we don't know the exact amount, right? This is what happens in Victoria. These lawsuits come up against the government. We had it with the Commonwealth Games and other such instances. And then there's some sort of settlement. I think with the Commonwealth Games, the figure had to be made public. But in this instance, it's not. It's a confidential figure. So let's have a read of this. The state government has reached a multi-million-dollar settlement with tenants of the Central Pier in Docklands on the eve of court proceedings. The popular precinct was dramatically evacuated in August 2019 when diners were given just 15 minutes to finish their meals and leave due to major structural problems. The Herald Sun last week revealed state government body Development Victoria was facing a $42 million damages payout after it was sued for gross negligence and incompetence for allowing businesses to keep operating while allegedly knowing the structure was in the danger of collapse. I don't know, maybe it cost less than 42 million. Was it a good deal for us that our incompetence from our government is costing us less in millions? Should it have gone to court if they were not incompetent, right? We pay the price regardless. That area is derelict at the moment. Not exactly sure how that's going to be revamped and fixed, but at least we know that something approaching 42 million worth of damages potentially has been paid in a settlement with the people that were there. Let me know what your thoughts are on all the stories I've discussed today, guys. Sorry for keeping us so brief and short today. I will be back tomorrow with longer coverage from the Farmers Rally. If you're enjoying my videos, you can find me on YouTube at The Real Rukshan. Hit the subscribe button. You can hit the notification bell if you want to get updates as I post. You can also find me on X, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, and Odyssey at The Real Rukshan. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.